For this week discussion, we will talk about different data types and how the programmers are using each type to store data and tell um, what each variable to display on websites and other applications. Before we get into different types of data type, first, a data type is a classification of data which can store a specific type of information. Data types are primarily used in computer programming. It uses variable to create and store data. The first data type, it's called the primitive and non-primitive data type. A primitive data type, it is described as a predefined data types that are supported by programming language. For example, Python, um, in Python, integer, character, and strings are primitive data types. Programmer can use these data types when creating variables in their programs. And then for non-primitive data types, it is not defined by the programming language, but instead it is created by the programmers. Sometimes it can be called reference variables or object references, since they reference a memory locations which store the data. Okay, an example of primitive and non-primitive data type is when an end user um, go onto a website to create an account. For the first thing they need to do is create their first name, last name, the birthday, and other informations. So the primitive and non-primitive data types help store those data um, in in the system because it because the programmer have declared an integer, character, or string as variable to store the data that the end user are inputting. The next type of data is the collection data type. A collection data type is a special type of object that represent a group of objects. It is an ordered set of items that can be referred to as a unit. A specific example of collection data type um, is when a company um, uses information to identify the number of employees that are working for the company, or they can use the numbers of number of female and male that are working for a certain department, or even um, the numbers of employees that are working remotely versus employees that are working in office. Then the last type is the object data type. Object data type can refers to a data structure containing data and instruction for working with the data. Object data type sometimes refer to real-world things, for example, a car or a map object in a racing game. And a specific example of the object data type can be found, through all the websites. For example, on Amazon, user can find object data type such as the shopping cart, because the object data type store the information that describe the shopping cart, such as its height, its width, and how big the object should be.